I'd like to call the annual meeting of the Tomahawk School Board to order, Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. Looking for nominations for election of chairperson.
I nominate Ron Zimmerman to be chairperson.
That's not a good idea. I'm not in the mood, believe me.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Does that mean you aren't accepting it, or you will?
No, I won't.
Okay.
Then I'll nominate Kate Kissinger-Wolf.
I'll second that.
For the fight, sorry. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, or no, all those in favor?
Aye.
And the public is here to vote too. Opposed? Motion carried. We're moving on to item 3, presentation and adoption of the treasurer's report. And Sandy, I'm going to have you go ahead with that. Would that be happy?
I'm going to do this often.
You're the star.
Treasurer's report. At the end of the year, we had cash on hand of $10,599,657.67. Cash on hand does not mean that that's how much money we have. I mean, that's what we had then, but that's not what our, it's our fund equity and our assets and liabilities is the fund equity is the difference between the assets and the liabilities. So fund equity is not cash on hand. You have to go to the top line to see what we actually had. For liabilities, a lot of them are payroll. For our assets, the big one is the receivable, which is our tax dollars, which we just got now in August. So that's the August tax payment that we get. So end of the year, we were actually up by $756,000 roughly from last year in our fund balance. We had anticipated roughly $750,000. So we were right where we anticipated being. We anticipate a tax for the support of the schools in the ensuing year to be in the amount of $11,364,371, which includes a tax of $200,000 for community service and a tax of $11,164,371 for the general fund. The treasurer's report is printed in lieu of an oral report. This is an audited report of the district's financial status at the end of the fiscal year. Fund equity is the difference between the assets and liabilities and does not necessarily reflect the district's cash position. This is submitted by Jeffrey Johnson, the treasurer of the school district of Tomahawk. And then you have to take an action on this.
Okay. Are there any questions on this? This is open to everyone. It's not just the board. Okay, if there's no questions out there, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the financial as presented.
Rudai, I so move.
Long second.
Motion has been made by Rudai, seconded by Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Item 5, Sandy?
Okay, now we're on to the annual report for the fiscal year end June 30th, 2021. As you can see, our revenues were bigger than our expenditures by the $750,000. The special project funds is our Fund 27, our special education funding. It is now currently going to be all of our activity accounts, all of our scholarships, and any of the remaining donations we just got for the Hatchet project all have to go in Fund 21 now. So you're going to see that account number gradually gaining this school year. Debt service, we have 0 debt. We are one of very few districts in the state that has no debt. The capital projects fund has about $200 left in it starting out the school year. That was for the Hatchet Pride project out and back for the football. We're still waiting on roughly $110,000 in revenues. That was promised over the next 5 years, but that's already accounted for in these numbers.
And those numbers are for the Hatchet Pride project?
Yep, those
So
are the
it's a pass-through.
Yeah, there's, I think, $200 and like 46 cents in there for Fund 46, which is the fund we set up for long-term capital, things that we had to have in there for 5 years. Food service fund, we gained roughly $50,000. A lot of that is because the lunches were free this year. And when lunches are free, we actually get a higher rate from the federal government than what we can charge the kids. So, and we had more kids eating. Because it was free, we had a lot of breakfast being served, a lot of lunches being served, way more than what we were getting before. We're only allowed a certain fund balance in Fund 50, so at some point, we're looking at getting another new dishwasher and a couple of stoves. The agency fund is Fund 60, that's what used to be the student activity account. That has 0 in it because we had to get rid of it. The expendable trust fund was the scholarship fund. You'll see there's no revenues, the expenditures was to 0 out the account because again, we had to move it back into 21. Community service, we lost about $3,000 this year. That was because we didn't get any pool revenues last year. The pool was shut down for the whole year. But yet we still paid, we had to pay the salary for Marion, we had the police liaison officer who comes out of there, and all of the middle school athletics come out of there. So we were able to, because we knew we were going to have a little bit left, buy some uniforms for the middle school athletics that were getting really, really worn. So that's the end of that. We need an action on that one.
Sandy,
Yes,
would you go back to that special project one? that
sure
you
will.
showed me? What did you say that's now gonna be?
That's Fund 27, which is all of special ed.
Okay,
That's going to be all of the scholarship accounts,
okay,
all donation accounts, and all student activity accounts. All go in the one fund now.
okay, does that mean then that those funds could be spent on any of those items?
No. Once they're in there, they are donated for a specific purpose. They have to be used for that purpose to be spent or reallocated by someone who approved for them to be there.
Okay, so the special ed funds go to special ed?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Special ed funds technically are Fund 27.
Yeah.
All of your donations are in Fund 21, but in here they have to be grouped together. They're all just in the category into the Fund 20s.
Okay, but they're still separated as how they get paid or
Yes.
spent?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions?
No other questions? Looking for a motion to adopt the hearing or the proposed budget that was presented?
I so
move.
I'll second. Baloo.
Hughesby made the first. Baloo made the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried. Moving on to approval of necessary tax levy for support of the 2021-22 budget.
You skipped one.
Did I
Yep.
hear?
You gotta hear the 21-22. Hearing of the proposed budget first.
Item 5.
Oh, item 5, okay, sorry about that. Item 5. Hearing of the proposed budget.
The 21-22 budget is up there on the screen. You'll only see through, again, the special projects funds because it doesn't all fit. I'll get there in a second. The first section is the general fund, revenues and expenditures. As you can see, we are at 1.5 million roughly in the hole this year. We knew that was going to happen because the referendum didn't pass. With that not passing, we did make some cuts, and so we are only 1.587491 in the hole. You can also see that we do have our OPEB is still fully funded. That's the 2,582,476. And then we have a reserve for the school forest that has to be reserved out of that fund balance. Special projects funds again was the one we just talked about, the Fund 20. That's the special ed and the scholarships and student activities. Debt service fund again is empty. If you look at capital projects fund, that's where I said we're back down to $200. That's the startup fund for Fund 46 that had to sit there for 5 years. The 5 years was up as of June 30th. So now, if we want to, we can spend that $200. Fund 50, we are anticipating another $40,000 increase there. Tom has guaranteed us a roughly $40,000 increase and profit. Like I said, we're looking at getting some bigger equipment. Some of that stuff is 20 to 30 years old. So we're looking at replacing some of that. Agency fund is zero now. That was the student activity fund. The expendable trust fund is now zero. That was the scholarship fund. Community service fund is Fund 80. Again, that's the pool and the police liaison officer and the middle school athletics. We're anticipating it breaking even. Hopefully we can get some pool funds in so that that can happen. You know, I don't know when that's going to open or if or how that's working, but hopefully we can get some of that in. We do have some projected income for that in there. So all in all, our total expenditures are actually down by $3 million. 1.5 of that is the Fund 10. The remaining of that is the Hatchet Pride project. It was here last year and it's not going to be here this year. So it's going to skew those numbers just a little bit because we aren't going to have any expenditures for that this year. That's a decrease of 10.54%. Our total levy is $11,364,371. It's down 20.79% from the year before. If you look, it's almost exactly the $3 million. That's because with the referendum failed. Any questions on that section? And that one doesn't need an action, Kay.
Sandy, I have just a comment, if I may. Could you clarify for that, like Hatchet Pride project, that was, you had to use the accounting of the school district, but that included like the grant money of 1.5 million?
It came, yeah, it was the donations
And
from the
all
Bierman
donations.
Foundation
So
and
that-
all of the local, thanks to the locals, for the
Right,
donations
just so-
to put that up.
People didn't confuse
Yes.
that with us using district money.
No, the money had to just flow through there.
Correct.
There was some district funds, but I'm not, the time is.
It's
wasn't-
very
It's
small
very
amount.
small amount compared to what the total bill was.
Thank you.
Yeah, the majority of it came from the Bierman Foundation and the public.
So if the recall election follows through, and there's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, where does that have to come out of?
The fund balance, that would just put us that much further in the hole, or we'd have to cut something that we already budgeted for.
Because as everyone's aware, that if there's a recall election, that the school is responsible for all the costs of the recall election. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Sandy.
Yep.
Now I can move on to item 6, approval of the necessary tax levy for support of the 2021-22 budget.
The proposed tax levy is $11,364,371, which includes $200,000 for the community service, $11,164,371 for the general fund. The proposed rate is $6.99 per $1,000 of property value. That is down from $9 per thousand last year. I have gotten notification that our valuations are up almost 7%. If that holds true, that possibly would be down to $6.60 instead of $6.99. But for right now, we have to go with the numbers we have that are actual until October 15th. We don't have any real valuations, but what we've seen and what's come through, that's going to go down even lower.
So will it be even less money coming in?
No, it's the
Okay,
same amount of money
same
coming in.
amount, okay.
It's just the tax rate goes down for the taxpayers.
Okay.
That one you need an action on, Kate.
Any questions? Okay, looking for a motion to approve the necessary tax levy for support of the 2021-22 budget.
Long, so move.
Second, Zimmerman.
Motion made by Long, seconded by Zimmerman. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the approval to provide 2021 to 22 National School Lunch Program, the Hot Lunch Program. That should be in our report. Anybody have the page offhand?
Did not skip school lunch.
Has everybody seen the school lunch program in here?
It's not in there.
It isn't in there,
No,
okay,
there's none of
sorry.
the rest of them, those are just, those are things that are mandated you have to vote on.
Okay, thank you. Joe, feel free to help us with this. Okay.
Make a motion we approve that to provide the 2021-22 National School Lunch Program.
Johnson, I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Moving on to item 8, we need to make approval to borrow money if necessary to operate under taxes and aids if becoming available. And that's if we have to do short-term borrowing and that type of thing. So we have to have a motion from, that we can do that the board can do that.
Rude, I so move. Baloo, second.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Is there a limit as to how much the borrowed money would be?
Do we have any type of limit? Do you know, Sandy?
Yes, you're only allowed to borrow up to the safe harbor amount. At this point, we don't anticipate any borrowing at all. It's just a legal formality that we have to follow by the state to pass this. The safe harbor number? For us, it's approximately, I don't know it off, there's a huge calculation you have to do. And right now, the board has approved that we keep approximately $5 million in our fund balance in order to not have to short-term borrow. And as you saw, we have about 13 million in there. So chances of a short-term borrowing anytime soon is pretty slim. Okay.
And we'll have enough to make payroll
Oh,
through
yeah.
the rest of this year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sandy.
Yep.
Okay.
Need to vote on that?
Yes, I'm looking for a motion.
We already have a
We had the
motion.
Oh, we have a motion. Okay, sorry about that. Losing track. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item 9, approval to prosecute / defend any legal action or proceeding in which the school district has an interest. This, I believe, is the motion for the lawyers to legal consult.
Long, so moved.
Is there a second?
Rude, I second.
There's a motion made and a seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Approval to authorize the acquisition of real estate through purchase or condemnation. Condemnation, thank you. I was on the thinking bench after lunch, and that's when we had phonics, so that's
Okay,
my
got
problem. Okay, looking for a motion.
Johnson, I'll make the motion.
Looking-
Baloo, second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Item 11, approval of school board salaries and to authorize payment of actual and necessary expenses of board members who travel in the performance of duties.
Rude, I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second Zimmerman.
Motion's been made and seconded for the approval of item 11. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the 2022 annual meeting date, which would be September 13th, 2022.
Johnson, I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Baloo, second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. adjourn the meeting, adjourn the annual meeting. Thank you. Okay.